to Get Your Bell Rung Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, KG. And man, I have me a guest tonight that I've been trying to get on the show. It seems like there's been things that happened that prevented us from doing this podcast. We're finally making it work, and I'm so happy to have you, Rudy Boy Gonzalez. Rudy, you are on mute. You need to unmute your mic, my friend.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep. Well, hold on 1 second. There you go. I can hear you now.
How's that?
Good, good. How are you doing?
All righty. I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good, man. I got.
How are you guys doing out there?
Man, I'm doing great. Just looking out the window, it's starting to get dark out. We're starting to get thunderstorms. I swear, every time I have a guest, we have thunderstorms. That makes me worry about the internet, but we'll get through this just fine. I got to tell you that although
where are you located at?
I'm in Minnesota. I'm originally from Louisiana.
Okay, all right.
Been here for about 20 years. But I got to tell you, Rudy, you have a remarkable wrestling resume, and I want to get to that. But one of the things that excited me to have you on the guest is you're someone that, man, you don't hold punches. You are straightforward about stuff. I love reading your posts because of the fact that you are straightforward. And I'm usually like that. But since I started this podcast, I found myself watching what I'm saying. I can't tell you how many times I went to say something and I deleted it because I'm like, oh, it's going to hurt my podcast. Let me ask you, how are you able to be so straightforward and stay true to who you are without it affecting your career? Or is it one of those things that, you know what, you either like me, you don't like me, I don't give a damn?
That's a good man. You came out swinging. It's when I came in 1982. All the guys that were around at that time, man, they didn't care what you thought. They told you what they felt, and if you got your feelings hurt, this isn't for you. And so I picked up on that. And that's the way I am. That's the way I was taught, I can't stand a guy that will shake my hand and he'll be nice and, say all the right things and what have a couple of days later, someone says, hey, man, so-and-so said blah, 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 blah about you. And it's like, I just talked to him the other day. And, he was cool to me. I can't stand guys that are like, if you don't like me, that's fine. Tell me. I think I've had people that told me, just like right now, you said, you're straightforward and, yada, yada, yada. And so if you were to come back and say, but you're an a-hole or whatever, hey, man, you're being upfront, and I appreciate that, and I know where we stand, because I'll say whatever's on my mind, and then I'm not going to say, well, I guess you could say backstab, but I can't, like I said, I can't stand guys that are like that. In today's wrestling world, there's a lot of guys now that if you say the wrong thing to them, they get offended, they get hurt, they get mad. And like, again, I would much rather you just told me the truth than blow smoke up my butt,
Right.
And that's how I treat people. I would rather I'd much
Hey, Rudy, we so your internet service is very,
Yep,
very you're coming in and out, just that you know, my friend. I'm not sure what's going on for some reason. I know last
I
time we
saw
had
that.
problems. Yeah, yeah. So we'll try to make it through this. I look, I completely agree with you. It's something that I really respect about you is how upfront you are about everything. Uh, Tell me what is a normal life like, Rudy Gonzalez? Well, unfortunately, guys. Oh, there you are, Rudy. You there, my friend? Hey, Rudy, you there?
What was that you said?
I'm sorry.
I'm
What
here.
is yep? What is normal life like, Rudy Gonzalez? Take me through your everyday life.
Yes.
Uh, Yeah, unfortunately, Rudy, I don't think. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we're having some serious internet problems, my friend. Yeah. All right, so Rudy had to drop. Let's see if he rejoins, guys. Hopefully, he's able to figure this out. This is a interview that I've been really excited to do with Rudy because, like I said, he has such an amazing wrestling resume. I mean, this is a man who's been in the ring with Eddie Guerrero, the Mountie, Shawn Michaels, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Papa Shango, Razor Ramon. I mean, this he's been in the ring with the who's who in professional wrestling, and as well as Rudy has went on to train other professional wrestlers at Shawn Michaels Wrestling School in Texas. So let's see if we could get him back on. Of course, I shut my phone off. Let me turn it back on, see if I can make contact with him again. See if we're able to get him back on. For those who are just joining again, Rudy Gonzalez is my guest. He's having problems with his internet service, so let's see if we can able to get him back on. See what's happening on his end. Oh, there he is. Hopefully, hey Rudy. Hopefully we can get this.
I got I got you on my phone now. I was
Oh,
using my laptop. I don't know what's wrong with it. Maybe I need to get a new one or so. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, the question I'd asked you was, what is your everyday life like? Walk me through, a day in Rudy Gonzalez's life.
I wake up, help help my 12-year-old daughter get to school. She's gonna start school in on Monday, and then answer emails, try and contact venues for events, um, that type of stuff. Go to the gym, obviously. Uh, you know, my wife Micah, she works for a nonprofit, so I'll see what they're doing, and maybe I can see if we can generate something, some kind of business, and include wrestling involved, that type of stuff. I mean, I don't really live a some fabulous life. It's just simple stuff, man. It used to be, I'm older now. It used to be everything was wrestling, 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 wrestling,
Right.
wrestling. Now it's not so much anymore. Like I said, I'm older, so maybe if I've got nothing going on, I'll just go sit by the pool and just sit, or I'll go to the mall or something, or just um, just to kind of like get away from the wrestling drama. I mean, I love pro wrestling. I've been doing it for what 82 since 1982. So what's that, like 40 something years?
Yeah.
So but now there's just so much drama, so much you know, and I just try and get away from all that stuff and just and then I have training at night. And it's like no matter what the day is, a good day, bad day, whatever. I'm at home at the gym, man. I'm at home with the students, whether they've been there for a while or they're brand. Like I have right now two new guys and a guy that was there for a while and then he quit. He took some time off for school and work, and he needed he saw how for lack of a better word, he saw how passionate I am about all this stuff, and that was kind of rubbing off on him. And he wasn't sure if he wanted to make the commitments that I was looking for, um, and which was, and I get it, which was kind of separating him from his family and stuff, and so he took some time off to think about this, and he just started coming back. He quit like in January, and now he's back, and um, so he's giving it a go. He knows my expectations, and he's very talented. Good little kid, man. His name is Jerry Martinez, and very good talent. He just needs to get some ring time, and I think he'll be a good one down the road.
Now, you brought up something about wrestling drama. One thing that has really changed about professional wrestling, and I don't know if it's within professional wrestling or the fans, but I remember the days of being able to watch wrestling, and exactly that's what it was. It's professional wrestling, and it seems like there's so much politics involved that's been brought in professional wrestling. Um, is that something that I am just perceiving, or is that something that you see as well? That people's politics are now affecting professional wrestling as well?
Politics have always been involved in wrestling, always. As I mean, since I was breaking in. The only difference now is it's being brought out to the public, and so like the behind the scenes stuff, if there was something going on, you kind of understood it because it was amongst wrestlers, and this guy's doing this because he's trying to get a spot, and this guy's doing this because there's tension between these two wrestlers, and everyone's trying to get ahead. So we all understood. But now, with wrestling being exposed as it is, now the fans think they have um, a say in this, and um, they don't. you know, I mean, I remember back when I started with a group called Southwest Championship Wrestling, and they signed a deal with the USA Network to put wrestling on cable, and Joe Blanchard was paying the network to put wrestling on. So now we fast forward to today, and we just learned ESPN is paying WWE
Right,
X amount of dollars, billions of dollars, to be able to put wrestling on their network. So the roles have switched now. Instead of the promotion
right.
paying the network's paying the promotion, and people are complaining about it. It's like, man, that's great because it's good for the company. In the long run, it's good for all of us. It's good for wrestling.
Right,
As opposed to, I mean, I would much rather get paid to do something than me paying somebody,
right.
and the fans don't understand that. And so then there becomes this, you know, uh, drama and, you know, arguing and then there's the stuff that has nothing to do with wrestling, the lawsuits, and you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I, I'm just I'm in the inside part of this stuff, but I'm not on the inside. but I like seeing the progress that pro wrestling has made through the years. I've seen every day of it for the past 40 whatever 43 years or whatever. I've seen this every day, and I think it's a good thing. But then you go on the internet and you read all this, uh, why is this guy coming on TV now and he's involved in this law? He's on TV because apparently the way things work now is, you have to get cleared. And I'm talking about Brock Lesnar,
Right.
and
Right.
and I don't think TKO or uh, Nick Khan or Triple H or The Rock will put somebody in the company that's going to create issues down the road.
Right.
And that's their business. That's we're and I'm going to put myself on this side of the fence. As fans, our job is to just watch.
Right.
And if you enjoy it, great. If you don't enjoy it, then don't watch.
Right.
Simple as that. But the fans go on, and if you try and put in some kind of common sense, like I said all the time, if you don't like it, then don't watch. And then I get kickback from guys like, well, a consumer, I have the right to. As a consumer, you have the right to not watch it.
Right.
It's simple as that. You know, um, wrestling is hotter and bigger than it's ever been, and it's like, and with that comes the drama, and that's that guys are bringing in people like Jelly Roll
Mhm.
and some of these celebrities that and I'm speaking for WWE. They're trying to bring in new eyes to the product.
Right.
So as someone that's watching wrestling and I'm a country music fan and I see Jelly Roll on there and I start getting interested and I start going on the internet and I see all this drama and all this garbage and stuff that has nothing to do with wrestling at all, but just fans going back, that's going to turn me off, or it could turn me off. So, I mean, the way I see it, if you're a true wrestling fan, then go along for the ride, and if you don't like it, then get off.
Right.
If I mean, it's wrestling's in cycles. It's always been. So there's going to be things that you don't like, and then somewhere down the road there's going to be something that you do like. So you can either get off when you don't like it and then get back on later on, or just for lack of a better word, shut up, and just I don't like um, certain things that are on WWE, but I watch anyway, you know, because I know somewhere down on the programming there's going to be something I like, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So you got to learn to take the good with the bad.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with professional wrestling, right? Professional wrestling appeals to all different types of people. So there's be some segments that's appealing for, as you said, this group of people that this group don't like. But when you keep on watching, you're going to eventually get to those segments that you like.
Right.
A great example of I call it people being entitled was Hulk Hogan when he was, there's this huge argument, whether he was sick, whether he wasn't sick, and then when he passed, who was right, who wasn't right. And I even said, the fact that people have gotten so entitled that they believe that they have a right to know someone's personal health issues is unbelievable to me. That is the right of the family, right? That the family and the person who's sick decides who should know and who shouldn't know. And we've
Exactly.
gotten to a point where we have fans that are just so entitled that they believe, as you said, they have a right to everything. And I agree, they don't.
Right.
Uh,
I mean, if somebody told me that you were sick, I might send you a message. Hey, man, are you all right? Good luck to you. I'm praying for you,
right,
whatever. But I'm not going to go online and say, hey, we need to know what's wrong with this guy because, it's your personal business, and last I heard, man, when it comes to your health and stuff, those are private matters, you
exactly.
know. So, I saw a podcaster, um, that was posting stuff about Hogan day by day, and the whole time I'm thinking, why is he putting the stuff out? I don't hear Brooks saying anything. I
Right.
don't hear his wife saying anything. I don't see his ex-wife saying it. Why is this guy? And he's probably doing it for hits, for views or whatever, but again, that was Hogan's personal, that's his personal business.
Right, right. Well, there's this thing that's called responsible journalism, right? And unfortunately, responsible journalism is kind of going out the window
Right.
for clicks and subscribers. And yeah, I mean, and like I said, I find myself in the mix of it. I'm constantly having to delete shit that I say because I'm like, okay, this is going to get me banned because I get so angry at some of these people for the stuff they're saying. I want to go way back to your childhood. Talk to me about what was your childhood like? Tell me about your parents, and also, did you were you athletic in school?
My parents took very good care of us. We never went through starving or homeless. Or my dad was a what good question. So my dad was from Mexico, and so now the big thing is immigration, stuff like that. Well, my dad came here illegally, and so at the time there was a deal where, and I guess they still have that. If you entered the army and you came out alive, you could be declared an American citizen. So my dad did that. He went through the army. He went through World War II. Never talked about it to us, um, and then he became an American citizen. He got grants and all this stuff, whatever. He went to the University of Texas in Austin, and he became a structural engineer. And he had a very well-paying job, civil service, and what have you here in San Antonio. My mom didn't work. She stayed at home and took care of us. Um, for whatever reason, um, she couldn't have kids, so she adopted. And so she adopted me. She adopted my younger sisters. She adopted my three younger brothers. And and then they started um, doing foster care for kids. And this was like when I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And so like I had just posted the other day on one of the Facebook groups, or my house that I grew up in. And so and somebody pointed out, it looks like your garage, it looks like where the garage is supposed to be. Y'all made it into a bedroom, and we did. We had four bedrooms and a garage, and then we at one time we had like we're taking. Well, my parents took care of through the foster care. They took care of, 4 or 5 kids at a time. So we turned the garage into a another bedroom, and we had two baby cribs and a couple of beds because we would have kids that were like infants to 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and my parents would put them in school with us and stuff. And then they quit doing that for a while, and then I didn't get into sports until I was in sixth grade, and I played football. I was very good at that, and I played sixth, seventh, eighth grade, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. Um, I went 1 year to Ranger Junior College, and um, I never. Here's a high spot of this whole thing. I was never a wrestling fan,
Wow.
ever, ever. My dad would watch it at night. It would show here in San Antonio midnight or so. All Star Wrestling with Joe Blanchard, and stuff like that. Tully Blanchard was a referee at that time, and I never watched it with my dad. And when I talked to some of my students and I talked to people on the internet, they're like, "Yeah, I remember me and my dad used to do this. Me and my dad," and I would think to myself, "Me and my dad didn't." And it wasn't because I didn't. It was because I just wasn't a fan. My dad took me to two wrestling shows, and I really didn't care for him. I just didn't. So, um, my dad had a stroke after I graduated from high school. And I came home from college, and the plan was to go back to college for the spring semester. This is 1981. And so 82 comes around. I see my football coach from high school. He's good. He was good friends with Joe Blanchard, and he knew the Blanchards, and he knew every athlete that was in San Antonio. And so I saw him I went by my school and I saw him there and stuff. And he said, he asked me, what are you doing to, for working out and stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm only going to be here for a couple of weeks. And he says, go by this place. My friend is opening up a wrestling school. And he said, I'm not telling you to be a pro wrestler, but I'm sure he'll let you train there for a couple of weeks because he has a lot of the wrestlers are football players. So I went. That's how I met Joe Blanchard, and I started. He did let me train there for a couple of weeks. I didn't pay anything. He just, yeah, go ahead. When it was time for me to go back to college, I didn't go. I was supposed to go back to school on a Sunday, and the Wednesday before I was training with the guys and stuff, and a guy walks in. He says, "Who's Rudy Gonzalez?" And I said, "I am." He said, "Do you want to help with the ring tomorrow?" And I said, "Sure." Joe sent him to go get me to see if I wanted to help out with the ring, so I can have some spending money, And so I said, "Sure." So Thursday, I helped him set the ring up in Corpus Christi, Texas. I did security for one of the back doors, and the show's over. We take the ring down, and we get back to San Antonio, and he gives me $75. And in 1982, to an 18-year-old kid, $75 is big money, man. And he says, if you got time, if you're able to, you want to help tomorrow? And sure, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. So I helped Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. And then Sunday was the big show in San Antonio. And I was supposed to go home. I was supposed to go to school. So instead of helping with the ring, he didn't have me down to help with the ring. I snuck in the back door and I sat up at the very top of the arena where Joe Blanchard did his wrestling shows where the Spurs played. So I snuck in and I sat at the very top of the arena and watched all the matches. And I was hooked. So I'm sorry, Monday morning I go to the office at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they used to do TV on Mondays. And so I got there like about quarter to 10 or so, 9:45. And Joe Blanchard just got there. The wrestlers, Hacksaw Duggan, Wahoo McDaniel, Dick Slater, they were all showing up. Since I was the unknown kid, they were all, ignoring me and what have you. And that's fine, kayfabe, that's fine. And so I went in Joe's office and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, can we talk?" And he said, "Sure, sit down." And so um, I just told him I want to learn the wrestling business. And he stared at me for like, it seemed like 5 minutes, but it may have been like 5 seconds. And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, I want to learn the wrestling business. And he goes, "Don't you have a scholarship for school?" I said, "I do." And he said, "Are you stupid?" And they kind of like slapped me across the face. I was like, "What the?" He goes, um, "You need to get back to school." And I said, "I can go back to school." And I said, I'm on a football scholarship. I'm not going to play in the NFL." And he said, "What are your plans?" I said, I wanted to get in coaching. I can go back to school. There's San Antonio College. There's school here, but I want to learn the wrestling business. I want to see how you guys do this stuff. I never said I wanted to be a wrestler anyway. And he just like laid into me like for about uh I don't know, it may have been 5 minutes, but it felt like 5 hours. He was like, "Rudy, these guys don't have a place to live. They live out of their car. They drive all night to make shows. They have no relationships. They miss birthdays. They miss anniversaries." He went to this long spiel, you'll never have a family. You'll never, I mean, he just like, "You'll never have a decent relationship. Your wife will cheat on you. You'll cheat on your wife." I mean, he just like laid it on me. And then at the end, he said, "Is that what you want?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to try." I wasn't planning on any long term. If any of that stuff, in my head, I thought the minute I have to sleep in my car, I'm done.
Right.
Because I never grew up like that. So he gave me the keys. He says, "Okay, go mop up. We got to do TV. We got to do promos in about 20 minutes. Go mop up the junction, which is where we did our TV promos at." I was like, "All right." So he pulled out the keys, threw them at me, and I went there. I went over there mopping. My dad, he's feeling better and stuff. And by this time, and after a couple of weeks, now we're towards the end of January. He's like, "When do you go back to school?" And I'm like, "Huh?" He goes, Aren't you supposed to go back to school already?" And I said, "Remember that wrestling show you took me to years ago?" And he was like, "Yeah." I met the promoter. His name was Joe Blanchard. He goes, "I know who Joe Blanchard is." I said, "I'm working for Southwest Wrestling now." And my dad kind of stared at me. He goes, "So you're not going to school?" I said, "I'm going to try this wrestling stuff." And he said, "Okay." He goes, "If that's what you want to do, then that's what you're going to do. You got 2 weeks to move out." And I was like, "Holy cow." I, my mom and dad loved us. There was never, like I said, we never had any issues with uh, food or clothes, or, I mean, my parents took very good care of us. And now out of nowhere, my dad is you got to move out. And so first thing I did was I went to my mom, and I'm like, "Mom, Dad said," and she said, "Well, if that's what your father says, then you got to find a place to, we want you to go to school and, you know, be a doctor or whatever, but we want you to go to school. And if you want to do this, then that's your choice." And so I was like, damn. So a couple of guys, I can't think of their name. I tell the story all the time, and I can't. But a couple of guys, I went and I was mopping up and what have you, and one of the guys, I said something like, I told one of the guys, I need to find a place to stay, and one of the guys was like, "What happened?" And I told him, and they were like, "You know what? You can come stay with us. We got a 1 bedroom. It's 2 guys ago. We got a 1 bedroom. You can, you just need a pillow and a blanket, and so I stayed with God, man, it's anyway. I stayed with 2 guys, and I'm 18 years old, and this was wrestling in the 80s. I did my training at the junction and with the cleaning and stuff, whatever. I helped with the ring. At night, we'd go back to the apartment, and the guys would bring back rats. And I'm 18 years old. I don't know. I'm just growing up. And so they would bang the rats in the apartment. I'm trying to go to sleep. They're smoking weed, drinking beer, partying. I'm trying to go to sleep because, and I I I hated it. That wasn't me. I don't smoke weed. At that time I didn't drink. I was just a kid, man. You know, and I remember thinking to myself, I said, if I ever had to sleep in a car, if I was going to quit this. And so week one, I'm experiencing this stuff, and so instead of quitting, I I worked harder because up to this point, I wasn't getting paid.
Right.
I'd get paid a couple of bucks here and there to help with the ring, but that was it. I couldn't afford my own place. So instead of quitting and going back to school, what have you, I dug deeper and learned how to sell T-shirts. I learned how to keep inventory on the merchandise. Um, I learned how to put the ring up. I learned how to be someone that Joe Blanchard could count on. And after a couple of months, uh, they started doing 2 shows a night, and it wasn't every night. It wasn't every, but there was a couple of nights here and there where they did 2 shows a night, and I was in charge of one show. I was in charge of the ring, and the way it was back then was the guy that was in charge of the ring was also the referee. So when I didn't have a whole crew, it was just me, and so I you know I refereed one show, and whoever the other guy was would referee another show somewhere else. I had the ring, so now I have more responsibility. So Joe started paying me more. Learn how to keep inventory on T-shirts and pictures and merchandise, and pass out flyers and stuff. So Joe started paying me more. And the minute I was able to afford my own apartment, man, I got it. My first apartment was $300 a month. It was an efficiency. It was one of those apartments where the bedroom, the living room, and the kitchen is one room.
Right.
And man, I was proud of that thing. I had a blanket and a pillow on the ground, and that was it. And I was happy, man. That was home. And that's how I started, man. And then as time went by, and then at the same, I started refereeing, and then so that was more pay. And so then some of the guys like Manny Fernandez and some of these guys would want to show up in the afternoon to the building, and where the ring was already set up at the junction, and we'd work out and stuff and train, and I'd take bumps for them and stuff. And then finally, someone didn't show up for a show, and so they were short a guy, and Luke Williams, one of the bushwhackers, at the time they were the sheep herders. He sent Al Perez, who was one of the wrestlers, to come grab me. I was supposed to ring the bell for the TV show, and Al says, "Hey man, what size shoes you wear?" And I said, "I wear 10 and a half." He says, "What kind of what size shorts do you wear?" I said, "Medium." He says, "Come on, let's go." And I'm like, "What do you mean, let's go?" He goes, "Come on." So we go to the back, and I had never been in the back for TV, and so there's chaos, man. And Luke Williams said, what size shoes you wear? What kind of shorts?" And I said, "I wear 10 and a, whatever, 10 and a half, medium shorts." And Luke Williams says, "Anybody got a pair of medium sized trunks Rudy can borrow?" And Bobby Fulton gave me a pair of wrestling trunks. And then he said, "Does anybody have a pair of 10 and a half boots that Rudy can borrow?" And Eric Embry gave me a pair of wrestling boots. And yeah, and so 20 minutes from the time I walked in, 20 minutes later, I'm getting sent to the ring. Me and a guy named Manuel Villalobos had a match against the sheep herders, and my timing is just so screwed up. But it might have been at times it might have been a 7 minute match, but it felt like 2 minutes. At times it could have been it was probably a 7 minute match, but it felt like an hour. I mean, everything happened so fast, and when I think about it, everything happened so slow, and everything, and then we finished the match, and we go to the back, and Luke Williams says, "You didn't do bad, mate." He goes, "But you need your own gear." He said, "When you get your own gear, let me know, and I can book you more." And I said, "Okay." So, the very next day, man, I called up a guy named Bill Ash, who ran a place in Arkansas, I believe. How much boots were? I called up a place called K&H. They were out of Ohio. They made wrestling gear. I found out how much a pair of trunks were, and I went to go cut grass, rake leaves, whatever I could do, put the ring up, paint the ring, whatever I could do. And in 2 weeks, I think at the time, boots were $200 and a pair of wrestling trunks was $60. So, and then shipping and handling all that stuff. So I got the money, and they sent that stuff to me. Like, it really didn't take a long time. Like, I think after I ordered everything, it was like maybe 2 weeks. And I remember going to the office and showing Eric Embry my brand new boots, brand new pair of white boots. And Eric said, "All right." That's all he said.
So
And I'm like, "Am I booked?" My book goes, "Well, we already got the next 2 weeks booked, so it's going to we got to figure, take some time, but get in the ring as much as you can." And so I got in the ring with guys like I said, Manny Fernandez, Chavo Guerrero helped me out quite a bit. Bobby Fulton helped me out quite a bit. A guy named Tony Falk helped me out. A guy named Nick Kaniski helped me out. I mean, when guys say, "Who trained you?" I can't say one person, because there wasn't there wasn't a guy named Ken Timms helped me out. If you want to get to the nitty gritty, Ken Timms helped me quite a bit with the cardio part.
Mhm.
Chavo helped me out with the wrestling part. Other than that, man, it was guys just showing up and say, "Hey, let me try this. Hey, let me try that. Hey, that's good. That's pretty good. Hey, let's try this differently. Let's do." And then finally, Eric Embry said, "Hey, you're in Laredo, Texas, Wednesday night." And so now I'm not refereeing. I'm wrestling, and it's like, oh shit. So that's how I got started, and the way it worked back then, it was if you could work, you didn't have to be a star as long as you put interest and you worked your butt off, and as long as you could do something, they would book you. And if you had a shitty attitude, man, they wouldn't book you. So again, I was now my first match was in. I started in 1982. My first match was in February of '84. So now I'm 21, and so uh, I wanted to and you got paid a little bit more and stuff, and so then I started like maybe there's something with this wrestling stuff that I could do, and but then what happened was like from one day to the next, um, Tully Blanchard wasn't that big of a guy. Chavo Guerrero wasn't that big of a guy. Dick Slater wasn't that big. Scott, a lot of guys, we're all about 6 foot. I'm 5'8", so everybody's like about 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". All of a sudden, you turn the TV on, and there's Hulk Hogan, who's 6'10". I don't know how tall he was. There's Lex Luger. There's Bruiser Brody. There's like these monsters, one man gang. It's like what, what am I gonna do? So again, back to sitting back and thinking, how can I fit into this stuff? There's nothing I could do. There's nothing I could do to go from 5'8" to 6'2". So I became an enhancement guy, and I didn't mind. I understood from the talks that I'd had with Joe Blanchard. Not everybody's going to be and he used football as a great analogy. Not everybody can be the quarterback on the team. Not everybody can be the star of the promotion. A football team has starting players, and they have second string players. They have quarterbacks, running backs, linemen, tight end, defensive players. A promotion has their stars and they have their bottom guys. Um, some bottom guys are better than others. Whatever you're doing, just do the best job you possibly can. So as time went on, um, a guy named Dusty Wolf asked me, um, "You want to go work for Vince?" And I already knew I wasn't going to be in WrestleMania, but I had a feeling. I kind of knew it was to be an enhancement
Right.
talent. I said sure. So at that time they flew us in, and they were doing it like 3 or 4 TV shows in one night. So we'd start the shows like at 5 in the afternoon, and we wouldn't get out till like 1 in the morning. And they were doing like Saturday Night Main Event or Superstars of Wrestling or All American Wrestling. They would tape all these shows. And so I started working for Vince. And so on the independents, you were getting paid $100, maybe $75, maybe independent wrestling money. Vince was paying the enhancement guys $400. Yeah, and you do that once or twice a month.
Right.
I'm happy. Um, and then of course there was the drama of you're on TV doing jobs for whoever, and yeah, but I can afford my own. There were guys that were trying to knock me that were my age, 23, 24, 20, whatever, 27 years old, that were still living with their parents, and they're trying to tell me you're doing these jobs and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, yeah, but I just made like $400. You
Right.
want to come have a couple of drinks at my apartment instead of drinking at your mom and dad's, stuff like that. So and then as time went by, man, I went to Mexico for a little while. I got hooked up with WCW through Joe Blanchard, um, and that's all I've been doing, man. Is just out of nowhere, man, I finally one day, the independence being the independence, um, sometimes you wrestle and the promoter says, "Hey, man, I ain't got the money or whatever." I saw some guys beat promoters up, uh, and
Mm.
then and then those same guys had warrants for their arrest. Um, I didn't want to go to jail, so if I ever got screwed over like that, what can you do? I already wrestled. I'm not going to beat you up. I just don't work for you no more. Um, so I did a big show one time in Laredo, Texas, and I got screwed on the payday, and I said I'm done. This was like in '98. I'm done. And I came home. That was a Saturday night. I came home Monday. I got a job at a warehouse here, and they had to do the drug test and all that stuff, whatever. So every day was like, uh, go do a background check, and then the next day, okay, you passed that. Now you got to go do a drug test. And so during one of those days, Sean calls me and asked me to help him with his school. And but this was like in November of '98. But he did say I'm not going to open the school till April of next year. So I'm like, all right, just let me know, whatever. So I worked at this warehouse November, December, January, February, March, and I hated it. I hated it. I mean, I'd made good money. I'd making $12 an hour, which in '98 that's good money.
Right.
But um, I hated it. I was miserable. We bought a house. I wasn't happy. And then Sean calls me again, like around 8. Okay, we're gonna meet up and we're gonna have a meeting and we're gonna talk about training and stuff. So I'm like, Sean, I'm there. So I went to go and to help him start the school and stuff. And 2 or 3 days into training, man, I was in a different world. Um, I was happy. The only problem was he was paying us $250 a week.
Mm. That's a big
So
difference.
yeah, but I'm a firm believer, man. If you're doing something and you're not happy doing it,
Right.
then don't.
Right.
If you're doing something that you enjoy doing, you'll never work a day in your life. You've heard that before,
Absolutely.
And so um, I quit the warehouse. At the time, my kid's mom, I told her, hey, I'm working with Sean now, and she says, "Oh, great, how's it going? How's it?" I said, "That's great, man. I got some good kids and what have you. Sean's a cool dude, whatever." And she's like, "How you gonna fit that into the you know to your job?" I quit my job, and she let me have it. We just bought a house. You sorry, blah blah. And she laid it into me, and I just told her, you know what? I'm not happy there, man. I can't stand it. I was up for in the short time that I was there, I was up for 2 raises, and I got looked over because um, one guy that started, one of them I know was one guy that started the same time I did. He got a raise more than I did, and when I asked why, my foreman, whoever it was, he said that was the one of the manager's nephews.
Mm.
And I'm like, what the, So I mean, I dealt with politics and stuff before through wrestling.
Right.
That just rubbed me the wrong way. So that I didn't. When the chance showed itself, Sean offered me that spot. I took it, and then
Right.
as it turned out, it was me, a guy named Ken Johnson, and then Jose Lothario who trained Sean. And Jose and Ken were buddies. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but Jose left after a few weeks, and then Ken left right after that. And then briefly, Paul Diamond was training with us. Actually, Paul Diamond's job was to book towns, and I'm not sure exactly what happened with that either. But Paul left, and so I was there by myself. And so I had, and I say this all the time, I had the great privilege of training those students, man, and that brought a whole different, satisfaction, joy, I guess you can say. Because now I'm watching these guys who were me, 15 years ago or whatever, and I'm the first to say, man, I was never a great talent, but I did see guys work, and I did pick up on things, and I just wasn't that guy that could move the needle like some of these guys were.
Right.
And so, but I knew what they did and what they had to do and how they went about things. For some reason, I wasn't that guy that did so.
Right.
And so it does it. I mean, I'm proud to see guys like Bryan Danielson, you know, achieve what he's achieved, and Brian Kendrick, and some of the other guys, Paul London and what have you, um, reach the heights that they've reached. Because I never got that far, but I was able to help them, you know, somehow or another. And so, I'm happy where this whole thing has gone to. Now I'm at the point where we're coming towards the end,
Right.
and I try and enjoy every because it could end tomorrow. It could end a year from now. I could still train guys for another 10 years. I don't know, but I'm at the point. I'm at that stage where you just don't know now.
Right. Right.
So
Now,
I try and enjoy every. These podcasts mean a lot to me. I try and enjoy every day that I have now. In the business, and it
right.
changes so much now. I mean, you could be out in a second.
Right.
you know,
Right. So I want to talk to you about a couple of your matches, but I have a question by Paris Wrestling or Pierce Wrestling. They want to know who's more stiff to work in WWF with between 91 and 93 Berserker, Godfather, aka Papa Shango, Yokozuna, or Bam Bam Bigelow.
man. um, you know what? It was a whole different world back then. So, like, I talked to a guy today about Bret Hart and Gunther, and back when I started, you took pride in working with guys, wrestling with guys, and not feeling things. Uh, Now it's like you got to lay it in, and you have to do. Guys think it's cool that Gunther leaves splotches on your chest from chops, and I guess that is cool for some guys. But back in the day, if you did that, you might be kicked out of the business.
Mm,
And so, and I'm not gonna lie, when I got in the ring the first time with Bam Bam Bigelow, oh my God, this guy's gonna kill me. Piece of cake. When I got in the ring with Bruiser Brody, it was actually a mix. It was a handicap match, 2 against 1, and um, the guy that was my partner was known to be he wasn't a very good worker. So he started the match off. He told me, "I'm gonna start off. I got Frank. I'll start off." And Brody, and I'm not making this up. Brody beat the shit out of him and stomped him in the face. And then I hear Brody say something like, "Tag it, Rudy," and I'm like, "Oh, you know." And I get in the ring with him, and he takes care of me. Were the kicks a little stiff? Yes, but they have to be. But I mean, it wasn't anything like we go to the dressing room. And the other guy's like holding his face, like, "Hey man, did Frank stomp your face like he did me?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my God, so hard." I'm like, you know, when Yokozuna he did the where he sits on you,
yeah.
and he just asked me, he goes, "You know my finish?" I said, Are you gonna sit on me?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I know, I got it." And so when we did the finish, it felt like someone dropped a pillow on me. I mean, I'm like this, and whoever hears this man, I know that he has family and stuff, but I'm like, this fat ass just fell and I don't feel nothing. Holy cow. I mean, he took very good care of me. Who else was there? Berserker. I mean, he was swinging and stuff, but I mean, and yeah, I felt a thud on my back, but it wasn't anything like, please get this match over with.
Right.
It was Razor Ramon gave me the Razor's Edge. I think, I mean, I don't remember. I mean, I couldn't see because I'm facing the ceiling, but I think he even stood on the bottom rope and gave me the Razor's Edge from there, and it was just a regular bump. Meanwhile, I've seen guys throw guys doing the same move and almost break their neck. I mean, so back then, I mean, the deal was the wrestling stuff was taking care of your opponent and stuff,
Right.
and
Right.
that was like a badge of honor if someone said, "Man, you're so light, brother," and that's what guys strive for. If I had a match with a guy named Bobby Duncombe Senior, the dad, and he gave me a forearm, and he caught me with it, but right away he says, "Sorry, I'm sorry, kid. I'm sorry, brother. You okay?" And I'm selling for him. I'm like, "Why is he?"
Right.
And it didn't. I mean, it was solid, but it wasn't anything that I didn't get a concussion from it.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know
Yep.
the
Now, Bob Cook says that, who's my co-host on Tuesdays. I love Bob. He said that Godfather and Bam Bam weren't stiff at all.
No, man. I mean, it, again, attitudes, the style was different back then. I mean, if if um if you were known as a guy that was stiff, you weren't working, man. You weren't, you know,
Right.
and or someone would say something to you, or that's just how it was back then. And now guys, think that's the way to work is to lay their stuff in. I mean, also you got to remember back then, guys wrestled 7 days a week. You can't wrestle to the way the guys do today. You can't do that 7 days a week because you're gonna die.
Right.
You're not gonna make it all 7 days.
Yep. Now, Paris Wrestling wants to know also memories of that JBL Border Patrol vignette. Is it true JBL almost got shot by a man, but didn't do it because he knew John's father? And also, will you do JBL and Briscoe's show?
So if JBL, so I ran into John Layfield a couple of times. Um, I just ran into him recently, like in January at OVW, and I knew him when he was at Global, and I've known him for a while. A great guy. Um, so what happened was me and Paul London went to Athens, Texas, to do this deal for Godfather I'm sorry, for John Layfield and for the Eddie Guerrero thing, whatever. And so we're in different cars, but I do remember Bruce and Layfield talking about the guy with a shotgun and what have you. Luckily, we didn't come across, because it was just me and Paul driving by ourselves. Luckily, we didn't come across that guy, but I remember them talking about it. But it was a lot of fun, man. We actually started training. We actually started filming at 6. It was a piece of property, and everywhere you looked, except behind us, which was where the house was, but everywhere you looked was just um, uh, brush. It was just, and then there was like a small little pond. And so the first taping we did, actually the first thing we did, when you see the part where John comes around the bushes and he says, "Stop, JB or John Layfield, blah blah blah, whatever," and I'm like, "No, no, no." Well, I'm supposed to turn around, and then he kicks me in the ass. And so John wore these pointy ass cowboy boots. And so when he kicked me, he, I mean, it couldn't have been it was a perfect strike right in my a hole. I mean, and oh my God, that paralyzed. I was like, I mean, I turned around to run and I just felt boom, like, oh, and then John was like, oh my God, Rudy, okay, okay. And man, I'm like, holy, and I'm fine. So we did it again, and it took me a little while to get over it. But the way they had us set up, we are supposed to run towards the pond, and the way the camera angle was supposed to be, that was supposed to be the river. So we did that scene a couple of times, and then the ranch hand guy comes out, and he said, that pond was probably about 50 yards from where we were at. And so the pond guy, the ranch hand guy comes, he says, I wouldn't run in that direction if I were you guys. And one of the producers, not Bruce, or somebody else, like, oh yeah, why not? And he said, there's an alligator out there. And we're like, oh, oh shit. So then we had to, change direction and not run towards the water. But Bruce really wanted that water in the background. But then by this time it's also getting dark, so that's where, we actually started at 6 in the afternoon when it was still light. But by the time we got to that scene where that they were happy with it, it was already like 8:30, 9 o'clock or something. It was
Wow.
already getting dark. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're actually there till midnight, I think.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, we got paid well.
Right.
The lady that was my wife, uh, and then the older lady was her was this may this if this was done today, they would you can't do it. So Bruce calls me up and he says, um, we want to do a little deal, whatever, with JBL. Is there any way you can get a guy, one of your Mexican friends, and we need a Mexican family? And I'm like, all right. He goes, like the wife and Bruce is from down here, so he knows the lingo. He goes, your wife and Walita and the three kids, the four kids, a Mexican family. And I'm like, all right, well, let me see what I can do. And so I asked a couple of guys that I knew, and they were like, well, what's it for? How long is it going to be? What do we have to do? And I'm just like, either going to do it or not. And so, I mean, I gave them the information Bruce gave me, and Bruce gave me very little. And so I called Bruce later on. I'm like, I can't find anybody. And then Bruce said, why don't you do it? I said, okay. So when me and Paul show up, Paul was there, Paul Lennon was there to be the interpreter guy because the wife and her mom and the kids didn't speak any English. So I think they were like Bruce's, not Bruce, I think they were like John's maid or something or whatever. And so when they're telling us what to do and stuff, Paul is telling them in Spanish. So there's a part where Paul was like, "Hey man, I gotta go to the restroom. I'll be right back." So he leaves, and then Bruce says, "Hey, where's Paul at?" And I'm like, "He went to the restroom." He goes, "Well, when he gets here, can you?" Because I don't speak any Spanish. So Bruce says, "When Paul gets back, tell him to tell them not to run so fast and not to scatter so much and give an instruction, whatever." So I'm like, "All right." So then the lady that's supposed to be my wife, she comes up and she says in English, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He just said not to do this, this, and that. She goes, "Okay, no problem." She spoke perfect English. So then Paul comes back and he's like, anything going on? I'm like, "Hey man, what's your job here anyway?" He goes, "Well, I'm the interpreter. Why?" I'm like, "They speak English." He goes, "Don't say nothing. Don't don't say nothing." And I'm like, "Hey, I don't care. So, but the way and then even now when people bring that up, there's like, you embarrassed the Mexican race, and dude, it was just a little vignette. It was back then, and yeah, they showed it for the first time on the jumbotron here in San Antonio. Eddie told me thank you. It was great. You didn't have to do that, bro. Vince McMahon walked up to me himself and shook my hand. That was some good stuff, and whatever. And it was just a vignette, man. But you can't do that today, though.
Right. Right. You mentioned Eddie Guerrero. That's what I want to talk to you about. Now, I know you faced him in WCW in a dark match in 1991 on February 24th, is the information that I have. What what was it like being in the ring with Eddie? And at that point, did you realize or even have an inkling of, man, this guy is going to explode and become one of the best professional wrestlers of this era?
So at that time, Chavo Senior, Chavo Classic was like the best Guerrero of them all. And but then there was also like, well, there was an argument that, well, Hector Guerrero is also real good too. And they're going, people would go back and forth with that. I had heard of Eddie. Um, he was supposed to come to San Antonio to do a deal, but I think his their dad was sick, so he couldn't make it down, or the mom was sick or something. They couldn't make it down. And so when I was going to Mexico, him and Art Barr were running around Mexico, and they're pretty hot. And then I was working. Then I started working for WCW, and so uh, one of the one of the guys called me up and said, "Can you get three lucha guys to do a dark match in Phoenix, Arizona?" And I was like, yeah, sure. But and then the guy was like, "We don't want no bullshit. We want a good lucha match." And I was like, "Yeah." So um, I called Conan, and Conan said, "Call Eddie, call this guy, call that guy," and I'm like, why didn't I think of that myself?" So Eddie shows up. We're in Phoenix, Arizona. It was for Wrestle War '91, I think, and so they're like, Mike Graham was our agent, I believe, and tells us, go 12 minutes or whatever we went, 7 minutes, 8, whatever it was, and they go over. So we worked on our match, and Eddie was good, man. He wasn't what he was at WWE. I mean, jacked and stuff. I mean, he was um, uh, pre-vitamin era, but he was smooth. I mean, and Joe Blanchard even asked me, he goes, "What do you think of of Eddie Guerrero?" And I'm like, he's pretty good, you know. I think at that point he only had like 2 or 3 years in the business or something. I'm not sure. Wasn't very long.
Yeah.
And
So I want to take you back to working for Shawn Michaels. Now, actually, a friend of mine went to the school, whatever you were training, guy named Jason Edwards. He actually went on to have a dark match against Triple H, but his career never really took off. But during that point, wasn't that during the point in the 90s when Shawn Michaels was considered very difficult to work with within the wrestling business? And if so, what was it like actually working for Shawn during that period?
so during that time, like you're talking about, yes, um, there was talk of being hard to work with, um, whatever. But at the Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy, Shawn was one of the boys, man. We would sit and talk, we would joke, we would, I mean, whatever, because I heard the same stuff. Um, and I finished the school. I mean, when the school closed, I finished, I finished with, wow, I can't believe I just trained with Shawn. Whatever it is that you heard, or what I heard, or what was put out there, never existed at the school. Never. I mean, there was never any attitude. There was never nothing. I mean, Sean was very down to earth. He was a coach. He was, I mean, it was great working for him. And I'm not saying it because any other reason other than that's the truth.
Right.
You know, we would have after training. I still do the same thing now, but we do our training, and then afterwards we would sit for about 30 minutes and just talk. And Sean would tell him stuff. Do you think you guys need to work hard? You need to do this, stay focused, yada yada. Do you think that Vince McMahon gave me the world title because I have pretty hair? And we'd be like, did he? But I mean, he was down to earth, man. I mean, I can't say that enough. And it was just like when I'd leave, I, every day it was like, Sean's a cool dude, man. Now I will say, I mean, and I'm only saying this because it's already out, it's been out there, but he had just came off his back surgery, and he was having some issues with painkillers.
Right.
So there are some times when there were some days when he wasn't with us. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Um, and I would follow him home from the gym to his house, or I wouldn't let him leave the gym till he got some somewhere where he knew what he was doing.
Right.
Um, but I mean, and at one time, one time, um, Bryan Danielson said, hey, can you show us how to do a moonsault? And my whole career, my whole life, I'd only done like five. So I'm like, oh man, it's easy, just jump up in the corner and flip backwards, and Brian Kendrick's like, well, what do you mean? So I'm like, oh man, all you got to do is just do this, this, and this, and this, and then flip. And then one of them, I don't remember who it was, but one of them said, can you show us? And me and Shawn had a rule that we would not make the guys do anything that we've never done. And so there's stuff like backdrops and big bumps and stuff that we would make them do, suplexes, and we'd always tell them, well, I wouldn't ask you to do this if I never did it. So Brian, I want to say Brian Kendrick because he's the smart aleck of the two, but he was like, well, can you show us? And I just like looked at him like, you son of a, you know, yeah, man, I can, yeah, no problem. So, with a little hesitation, I did a moonsault, landed on my stomach, bam. And I looked up there. That's how, I was surprised that I didn't kill myself. So I like, that's how you do it. And I got up and like, making sure I'm well. I get up and Shawn's behind me in the ring and he goes, here, let me try it. And so we're like, oh shoot. And, and so jumped off the middle rope, did a complete flip, landed on his feet, but he did hurt himself. I know that because as soon as he landed, he was like, "That's how you do it," and his eyes like immediately got bloodshot. I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm like, "You all right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I gotta get going." And so we watched him get out of the ring, and a couple of days later, I'm like, "Are you sure you had back surgery?" He goes, "Why do you ask?" I go, "You did that moonsault pretty good." And he took my hand and he put it on his back, his lower back. He goes, "You feel that?" And I could feel the you know I guess the
Right.
plate and the screws and stuff. I'm like, holy shit, yeah. He
Yep.
goes, uh, he said, you convinced now? I'm like, yeah, yeah, I am.
Now, talk about Bryan Danielson. Um, did you recognize the potential star that you had when you were training him?
All those guys came in. I'm gonna tell you my version. All those guys came in wide eyed, wet behind the ears. They had no clue. Apparently, Brian had signed with Malenko's wrestling school,
Mhm.
and he was sent a deposit and stuff. And then Malenko shut his school down or something, so he ended up at our place. But all those guys, they had no clue what they were getting into. And they all, Brian Danielson was in very good shape. We have an exercise where we do four sets of jump ropes, 1 minute each, and then a 30-second break, 1 minute each. 1 minute, 1 minute jump rope, 30-second break, 1 minute jump rope. We do four sets. So after the first set, all the guys are like, but Brian just kept going the whole time, the whole 4 minutes. So he did the 30-second break, jumped rope through that also. And me and Shawn told him, hey, you can stop now. And he's like, I'm okay, I'm okay. So Brian Danielson came in very good shape, as opposed to a lot of the guys were throwing up and stuff like that, and having to rest and whatever. I didn't see anything that said this guy's it. I mean, Shawn will say, I knew it all the time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, they're just, but as time went by, um, you could see, you could see the seriousness that he was putting into the training. So like in his group, we had 20 guys and this is just how it worked, man. The guys that were very good, like Brian Danielson and those guys, they would get a 30, maybe 30 seconds in the ring. They'd do something, bam, they knock it out, perfect. All right, next. The guys that were struggling, they would be in the ring for 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes because they're doing something over and over again. So it was Brian Danielson, Brian Kendrick, and a kid named Shooter Schultz, Chris Schultz. They came up to me and said, "Hey, do you mind staying around after training because we want to get more ring time in?" So I was like, "Sure." So and it was Brian Danielson that asked me that. So I'm like, "Sure." So we trained from 9 to 12 with the group, and then from 12 to 3, 4 o'clock or so, those guys would stick around, and they stuck around. They wanted more training because they were serious about this. Coincidentally, they were also the guys that got developmental contracts. Um, so when that was going on, when they started doing that, then you saw like the seriousness and the dedication coming through, because it wasn't just one day. Now it was like every day, and then it became, okay, can you come back to the gym at 7 or so we can work out some more? Sure, no problem. So I mean, I had the keys, and again, like I said earlier, man, once I I was miserable at that warehouse, but being around these kids, um, it was just a whole different feeling. I'm seeing these guys. I mean, and then Sean would. I was around 40 years old or so, and these are 20-year-old kids. And so Sean asked me one day when we started doing our TV show, he's like, "Do you mind working with him?" Yeah, no problem. So that took this whole um, rebirth, I guess you could say, to another level, because I had a lot of fun wrestling with Brian Kendrick, a lot of fun wrestling with Bryan Danielson, a lot of fun wrestling with all those guys. Their first matches, that became the rule. I would have their first match, and then depending on how well you did, then it was either yay or nay. So, you know, the first Bryan Danielson's first match was with me in Catula, Texas. Um, and Sean wanted to start putting him on TV. So we were in Catula, Texas. There's nobody there. We had 20 people or so. No better place than to have a match in front of nobody. So I said, "Hey, Sean wants to put you on TV now. So it's me and you. Let's see how well you do." And so Brian's nervous. He's like, what do I, what are we gonna do?" I'm like, "Do whatever you want to do, man. It's for you. This is your tryout. Do whatever you want to do," which was a mistake. Because I just, like I said a couple of minutes ago, Brian was in tremendous shape. So he would come up and he'd say, "Hey, do you mind if after we lock up, if I do this?" "Yeah, no problem, man. Hey, do you mind if we do this?" And he was very professional about everything, very, humble about, "Do you mind if I do this? Do you mind if is it okay if I did, Brian, whatever you want to." So we did a 10-minute match, and that kid just blew me to hell up.
So,
As soon as I beat him, and as soon as I got the pin, 1, 2, 3, I rolled out of the ring. I went straight out the back door, and I was just like trying everything I could to get as much air as possible. And Sean comes back and he's laughing. He goes, "You okay?" I'm like, he goes, "How do you do?" I'm like, and then Brian comes back. He goes, "Rudy, you okay?" And I was like, "I'm good. I'm good. Good job. Good job." And I got away because I didn't want him to see him. I didn't want him to see that I blew up. But I mean, I think he knew. But Brian was a pro from the get go, man. And all those kids were. They were just, you know, I mean, what Brian Danielson has become now, I mean, I beyond proud. I mean, it's just, but as far as did we see it back then, I'll be honest, I didn't, but if you ask Sean the same question,
he'll say
"Oh,
yes.
I knew it from the get go." All right, all right,
Now,
if you
do
say
you
so.
do you still keep in touch with Brian?
Brian Kendrick, yes. Brian Danielson, I'll message him, and it'll take forever to get a message back, or I'll call him. I'm working on a deal right now where I'm trying to do something with him, and I messaged him like about a month ago. Haven't heard from him back, and everyone tells me good luck on that. You're not going to hear from him. He doesn't return calls. He doesn't,
Right.
and that's fine. He's busy, and if he's not doing the AEW stuff, he's a guy that I'm sure his home life is very valuable to him. So I mean, that's fine. It's no big deal.
Well, here's the question. Now we all know that he had his retirement match at AEW. Um, do you think that he will stay out of the business, or do you foresee him coming back possibly to WWE to have one more run?
I honestly, that's a good question, but I think he may end up, just because Sean's there, and I know Brian has a tremendous amount of respect for Sean. I think he may end up, and to get the Hall of Fame thing.
Hmm.
I think he may end it all at WWE.
Yep.
That's my feeling. I mean, and knowing the
Right.
relationship that those guys have, um, I think he'll end up, you
At
know,
WWE.
yeah.
Yep. Now, a couple more questions for you. We'll end this. Um, the name Steve Chrono. Apparently, according to what my research, that you guys had some real heat, that he made comments about you taking advantage of his students. And
Steve Carino.
Trino, that's it. That's it. Yeah, yeah. Talk to me about that.
So, Ring of Honor started. Um, Pieces just fell into place. So when I took over the school from Shawn, that was in '01, 2000. I'm sorry, 2001. Um, Ring of Honor started in February of 2002. And so Rob Feinstein and Geese Polsky and Doug Gentry, started the whole deal and whatever. And I asked Rob, "Do you have any room for some guys?" And so we talked, and they wanted to get a hold of Bryan Danielson and Brian Kendrick and Michael Shane, and hey, I can bring them. They flew in Bryan Danielson. They already had his contact. The other guys I brought in. So it was going to be like at that time, according to MapQuest, it was like a 30-hour drive. And so I asked some of the students that I had at the time, like Masada, um, you guys want to go to Ring of Honor? It's a new promotion. Not guaranteeing anything. They're not guaranteeing me anything, but it would be a good idea to get your names out there. So I had a bunch of guys that wanted to go. So we just split the gas. So Steve Carino, who's now a coach at the PC, Steve Carino was at Ring of Honor also. So word got around that we were driving 30 hours and what have you. And Steve was like, "Oh my God, that's great! That's a long drive." And then somebody made a comment that yeah, Rudy makes us pay $150 to go with him, and I wasn't making them pay $150 to go. I was making them pay $150 for their part of the gas, of food and stuff, to pay, that was their part of so we're going over there and and renting the van and stuff because we were taking a van. I ended up doing all the driving because I let one of the guys drive and he almost killed us. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm driving. Forget this. So I'm watching the monitor in the back and Steve Carino is doing commentary and, he's like, Rudy Gonzalez makes these guys drive 30 hours all the way from San Antonio, and then he steals their money. And I'm like, what the, you know? And then he came to the back later. I'm like, Steve, I'm not stealing nobody's money. He goes, I know, I'm just messing. I'm just. So, but the funny part was that other wrestling guys around here were like, you're an asshole, man. You're an ass. And I'm like, why am I an ass? Because you're stealing money from the guys to go. And it was like, so I was really getting some heat from that.
Right. Right. Last question. Since you were involved with training, you obviously have an eye for professional wrestling. Is there anyone that we should keep watching out for because you're predicting they're going to be the next breakout star?
Yeah, I mean, um, there's a guy down here. His name's Max Castellano. Um, he's really good. There's another guy that I trained. His name is um, Moonshine Mantel. He's very good. He's out of Kansas. Uh, uh, my wife Micah works for Wow Wrestling.
Oh,
She does really good. Um, she does a good job on Wow. There's a bunch of guys that are really good, and um, I don't know. I mean, and I'm not in charge of stuff anyway. So, I mean, I don't know why they're not getting hired, and I know it can be, uh, annoying for them. Well, Rudy, you said I'm really good, and you said I'm. but I don't do the hiring and firing though.
Right.
Um, there's a guy out of Florida named Cha Cha Charlie who's very good. There's a kid here named Chris Austin, very good. Um, those are the ones off the top of my head. There's a girl I'm training. Her name is Nikki Fuego. She's still green, but she works her butt off. Um, and the good thing about her is that she just graduated from high school, but she's got a bunch of scholarships and grants and stuff for college. So, like me and her dad had a conversation. I'm like, keep her in school as long as possible. If I had any regrets in this stuff, man, it was that I didn't finish school.
Right.
But I really don't regret anything though. But if I had to pinpoint anything, that would be it. I should have finished college, but I think if I finished college, I wouldn't have gone through the stuff that I did at that time.
Right. Right. Is there anything coming up you'd like to
No,
plug?
man. I really do. Like I said earlier, my days are numbered in this business. But thank you for having me on there. I know we were supposed to come on last week, and I'm not really sure what was going on with that. But thank you. I appreciate it. And then if you ever need to kill some time, some more, just let me know. Um, you
I
know,
know
I
what I was going to say. You are always welcome because you have such an extensive resume, my man, that we didn't even nearly touch a lot of the things that you have done in professional wrestling. So I absolutely will have you back on. I would actually keep the show going on longer if I didn't have another podcast at 7:30. So thank you for coming on. You are such an interesting person to talk to. I actually really enjoyed talking to you about your life and professional wrestling. You're a legend within itself. I mean, you are responsible for not just one, but a couple of legendary professional wrestlers. Bryan Danielson, we talked about being one of them, my man. Again, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
again, I appreciate it. And anytime, just let me know, man.
Absolutely, guys. At 7:30, we will be doing a recap. Me and Mark, we will be doing a recap of Wednesday Night Dynamite. See what we thought about it last night. So please subscribe to my podcast. Again, I have great guests coming on. I'm definitely going to have Rudy coming on again if you guys enjoyed listening to him. Which if you're a wrestling fan, I don't know how you didn't enjoy it. But again, Rudy, I really appreciate it, guys. Uh, and again, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys at 7:30. Until then, you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Rudy. I appreciate it, my man.
Thank you.